Welcome to the StickyTriflePodcast.
And for the past few years, we've been such unstable times that just something little can rock us and turn things around like we didn't expect. And this place might just have the proper space that you need. And what an original sculpture for the artist Penny Downs.
Welcome to Sticky Trifle Podcast. Sticky Trifle Podcast. Sticky Trifle Podcast.
And welcome, it's Sticky Trifle Podcast number 59? It is number 59. How's the time going?
Oh, this year's just flown past.
I'm at Shorterless Space.
You are indeed.
And I feel honoured, Fiona. If you don't ken, it's Fiona Weir, and I'm sure some people will be watching this and going, wait a minute, I ken Fiona. She helped me. She talked. And great to hear you on.
Thank you.
Now, this is a place, I've always passed here in the past, and I've always thought, why can't I do something near this building? But I didn't hear real contacts. And then somebody got me in contact with you, and I'm kind of delighted I'm doing this with you, because I'll be honest, I didn't ken a lot about Shorterless Space. So, what about yourself? Where are you from originally, Fiona?
I was born and brought up in Airdrie, down the Central Belt, but then we moved up north. My dad bought a pub, and then we lived in Elgin, and then we moved through to Peterhead because my late husband got a job in the prison.
So you've done a lot of moving about?
Yeah, instead of changing carpets, I just moved house.
And so now you stay, where do you stay now?
Yep, I stay in Peterhead. I've only stayed in the town itself for a year. Prior to that, I was about 3 miles out, up near alongside Airfield.
Right.
So yes, a bit of change.
And so you're not going to move about again?
No, that's me set.
Set for life?
For life, yep, happy with life.
So I'm not going to come back in a year and somebody will go, oh, Fiona's actually moved a while back.
Well, saying that, we just bought a motorhome, so I'll be travelling, but I'll be coming back.
Right, okay. Can we speak about, let's speak about Shorterless Space to start with. What is it in memory of?
It's in memory of a lady called Shirley McCrombie.
Shirley McCrombie?
Yep.
And
Shirley was married lady with 2 children, and she had moved to Australia from Peterhead originally, moved to Australia and stayed there for a few years, and then came back thinking she was homesick, and she was only back in Peterhead a short time when she took her own life. So the family got together and done quite a bit of fundraising, thinking that initially they would hand the money over to a mental health charity. But they're a very well-known family in the area, raised lots and lots of money, and thought, do you know what, there's not enough services in this area, let's do something ourselves. So the idea was born for a place, a drop-in centre that people could just come to. So I got involved with the family initially because I lost my husband and my son to suicide. So after that, I would go and meet with people that were suicidal, or meet with families that had been bereaved through suicide, just kind of off my own back.
And you just got it if it was happening in other people's life, did you? Because you've been through it.
Yeah, twice. Yeah.
So let's mention about your husband and son. So what was the first into?
2010, my husband took his own life. He was a prison officer, and it was an incident in the prison. Somebody had got a watch in and taken photos in the prison, and he thought it was his fault. So
he blamed himself?
Yeah, there was photographs in a Sunday paper, and he had laughed, gone to the prisoners and said, oh, how did he get the photos this time? Because he had a good relationship with officers and prisoners. And they laughed and said, oh, that watch you sent out last week, one of the wee dots, and it was a camera. So he just had huge guilt, had gone and said, well, I think that's my fault, and never saying it's James Bond tales, but he was just 6'4" for the Central Belt, just a proud man, larger in life. But through the week, he just couldn't cope with it. He was waiting more photographs going in the following Sunday.
But I think the guilt side for him is showing the person he was. Yeah. Because people wouldn't feel that guilt if they didn't.
Absolutely.
So it shows the kind
of
person he was.
And he would have looked after everybody else. He was making sure everybody else was okay and what have you.
And so you remember when this happened with him, do you? As in this photo.
Yeah. That was the 1st of August 2010. And throughout the week, I knew he was upset about it. And we spoke about it. I was saying, look, it's a job, pack it in, we'll move. I can set up a flower business. We had all these options. And he was saying, no, it'll be fine. And we should have been going away for the weekend. The boys, Simon, it was a month before his 21st birthday, Jonathan was 23. They were away for the weekend with their girlfriends, and I'd said, oh, can we just take a rain check? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And he had, the Saturday night I was making his niece's wedding flowers, and he came through telling me what kind of kilt they were going to wear, him and the boys, and what kind of lapel flower they wanted, and somebody that's suicidal isn't supposed to make plans. And on the Wednesday night when he was sleeping, he had mentioned suicide, and he's sleeping on the Thursday. I said to him, Wally, did you are you thinking about suicide? Is that something that you're planning? And he'd take my face and says, Fiona, I could never do that to you. I love you too much, and apart for that, I'm not brave enough. And then 4 days later, he taken his own life, waiting in more photographs going in the Sunday paper, which didn't happen. So if he'd just held on that wee bit longer.
And the questions for you, I presume, after losing him must have been so deep, because you watched a storyline unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had given him options.
You didn't think he was going to do it, did you?
No, because I asked him, and when he said no, I would have thought I knew him better than he knew himself. So I honestly believed that he wouldn't. But it was the strangest thing, because on the Sunday, so exactly 7 days later, he got up at 4 o'clock rather than 5 o'clock, which it was silly times anyway, but I thought he's checking the computer to see if there's more photographs in the Sunday papers. So I shouted through to him, is there anything on the internet yet? And he's went, no, the papers aren't up yet. And then at 7 o'clock I heard him at the patio doors in the kitchen, and I shouted, have you been for your papers yet? And he says, no, that's me just going in now, hen, just put your head down and sleep. I must have dozed off at 8 o'clock, awakened, and I knew. And it was strange, because I really didn't think before that. So I ran out looking for him, saw the car, and relief he wasn't there. Ran to the steading, looked up, he wasn't there. Ran down we stayed out in the country, so we had quite a big garden, and then came back in and fell over him. And I just remember I'm screaming at him, saying, you promised you wouldn't do this. And
so how did he take his life, if you don't mind?
He gave himself the most horrendous injuries. He had done a lot of cutting, and then fell back and cracked his skull.
Horrific for you to
absolutely
view this.
So I remember screaming and nobody came. So I ran and got an old neighbour, and he saw me and he kept saying, it's one of the prisoners that's got out and done this. And I kept saying, he's done it. He said, I just knew. So he had phoned my mum and dad up in Aberdeenshire and just said, well, he's gone, Fiona, I need you have to come through. So they had phoned the boys to come through, and he'd obviously phoned the police, so they arrived.
I presume their investigation was very overpowering for you now, because they check every angle, did they?
Yeah, well, when they came I was covered in blood, obviously, because I had been trying to help him. And so I was in the sitting room with a police person watching me just all the time. I wasn't allowed to get washed or changed or whatever. And
here's you kind of grieving, sadness stage, and you didn't get time to do that, did you? Because you start...
I remember at that point just shocking, saying I need to speak to my boys. So at that point there wasn't any question. The only question at that point was they came in and asked if I had access to a gun. because of the head injury. So they had cordoned off the whole street, and I remember looking out and there was this young officer, obviously a big story for him, and he was walking up and down my drives with the stupidest smile on his face, and I just wanted to go out and take a smile off him and say, it might be a big story to you.
Because you're grieving somebody.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful sunny day, but he was obviously bored walking up and down, but this grin, and I'm thinking, the world needs to stop. My world stopped. Everybody else needs to take this on board.
Yep.
And it just wasn't like that. So the street was cordoned off, and my mum and dad and the boys were held at the end of the street, and they kept going and asking what was happening. They were told, can I tell you, it's a crime scene. So then just about lunchtime, so that was 8 o'clock in the morning, I found him, and I think Jonathan had been a bit sweary, and you need to tell us, and he said, well, your dad's dead and CID's coming to take your mum to Fraserburgh for questioning. So that in itself probably planted a seed. The boys always said it, didn't they? But it must have. So then the forensics came and took me, and I was undressed and fingerprinted and swabbed.
Just everything?
Yeah. Do you know, at that point I would have undressed in front of an entire army. I didn't care. And took me through to Fraserburgh for questioning. Handed me over to CID, and I was taken through for questioning. And I remember being questioned, and it was just surreal. It wasn't like it was me. It was
like a movie, what you see in the movies, eh?
Yeah, it was. And I had said something about, they had asked how the boys got in. I said, Jordan and his dad, it's a bit like deers. Their horns locking, you know what teenagers and dads are like. And they said, does he not go on with his dad? And I remember thinking, have I just said I didn't do it, my boy did? It was kind of, I was second guessing. And they were nice to me, don't get me wrong, but nevertheless I was being questioned as a murder suspect. So it was after 4, nearly 5 or something, and it came through in their walkie-talkies that forensics were satisfied that it was suicide, so I could be released. So I hadn't been allowed to wash or anything, although I'd put clothes on, I still had the blood in it.
Horrific time for you.
So they gave me a room, because by that point my brother had come up for Airdrie with his family, and my other brother was through for Aberdeenshire, and the whole family was in the police station, and my dad had been saying, you either need to let her go or let me get her a solicitor. So they let me take them into a room to tell them what was happening, but we didn't get back into the house for 3 days as it was a crime scene. So I just travelled up to Aberdeenshire, stayed with my mum and dad.
How's your feelings towards him now? You still a deep love for him, I presume, have you?
Absolutely. Do you know, I've never had any anger. A lot of people do have anger with suicide, and that's okay. We've all got different emotions.
The anger part, for him taking his life, how long did you hate anger? Did you hate for a minute?
I never had it at all.
Never had anger?
No, only once I've been angry with him. So when he died I was heartbroken that I couldn't help him, and I wasn't angry.
Did you feel like he's cheated you a bit?
He's the kindest man ever. Do you know what I mean? And he would always put his family first, and it was obviously more than he could carry. And his
mindset had just tell him or
pride,
something.
Pride and shame.
Needed to.
When he was coming out the prison on the Friday, one of the prisoners had says to him, have you got the time there? And he'd looked at his watch and they laughed and said, does that tell a time or take photos? And he was just humiliated.
Okay.
So no, the only time that I had anger with him was in 2017, after Willie died. I'd done quite a lot of work with Choose Life Suicide Prevention, and we brought out a suicide prevention app. I'll give you a copy. It's a fantastic app. So on the app it'll tell you how to notice if somebody might be suicidal.
Is this for somebody that's actually thinking like that?
Well, yeah, but it's personally I would say everybody should have it in their phone, because it'll tell you if you start giving away your possessions. I should be thinking, what's he doing that for? Is that because he wants folk to have them? Because if you're getting your house in order, or just picking up on some of the words that you're saying. So I'll tell you about things to notice. I'll tell you there's a care plan, so if you've been suicidal in the past you can go in and write your own care plan. So it's things to keep you alive. For some people that might just be their cat, because they don't want it to go in a shelter and then nobody else will take it. So it's reasons to stay alive, people that helped you the last time, places of safety, and for some folk that might be a 24-hour supermarket. because you can't kill yourself in a supermarket. So it's got all this, because when you get into suicidal thoughts, you can't focus, you can't see a way ahead. But if you've got it written down at bullet points, then do you know what I mean? It's a wee jolt, a reminder. I can do
and we're
this.
going to highlight that at the very end. Actually, you will see the info for a suicide app, which is great for anybody to download.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's free.
It's free, absolutely, and nobody knows what you're writing. It's anonymous. So I had helped to launch the app, and we had made a video. I used to have a cafe in the area, so the coordinator at the time for Choose Life and I had made a video, because we had been nominated for a Health Scotland Award in Edinburgh, a big event. Fred McCauley was the host. So the night before I was going, I was packing my suitcase, and I got a message on Facebook. Have you seen the post on Facebook about Simon, who's my youngest boy? And I went on and read it, and I thought, when I read it, if he's seen that, he won't be here. And it was an ex-girlfriend, and her pal had put up a post, and I'm not going to get into details, but it was cruel and a lot of untruths in it. And I thought, if he's read that, he won't be here.
And this led to your son and all?
Yeah, Pride again. There was 88 folk that I didn't know that had commented on it. So I was trying to get a hold of him, couldn't get a hold of him. And phoned, he just recently bought a flat in Dice, just about 6 months before. And he worked round the corner for it. 2 days before he died, he'd been offered a job in Dubai with a 3-bedroom house and a car.
Had he accepted it?
Yeah. So he had so much in life going for him, but it was this one post. So I'd phoned his pal, and I was like, trying to be all happy. Have you seen Simon today? And he's like, no, he's on holiday. I says, I know, but I was trying to get him. And he said, Fiona, I'll just nip round. Their work was just round the corner. And he went round, and he's like, Fiona, his car's there and the lights are on. And I can hear his phone ringing, but he's no answering. Then his other friend turned up, and he used to be a locksmith. And he says, can he pick the locks? I said, absolutely. And he said, Fiona, he's picked him, but he must have bolted it from the inside. And I said, just kick it in. And right enough, they found Simon.
And how did he do it? Was it like...
He hung himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
And once again, mindset, just too much to bear.
Yeah, and...
was he a good talker with you now?
Simon was amazing. Simon, he'd done a lot of night shifts, and he would phone me. He was eye laughing. Happy, go lucky, just like his dad. I hadn't actually realised how like he was, but he used to smoke the same as his dad, the same actions. It was just, and he would phone me he'd done a lot of night shifts, he'd phone me 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He would say, Fiona, that's what he called me. If he was being cheeky, it was Fiona. Fiona, I've got a boy here, and he's tried jumping off a bridge the other night, and I've said this and this to him. What else can I say? So I would tell, will you just talk to him? So he would have me supporting his pals at work, and after his funeral there was quite a few of his young mates came and said, if it wasn't for Simon, I wouldn't be here.
For year did you lose
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
Still a bit raw also,
So 7 years after his dad. Yeah.
Do you think when his dad committed suicide, had part of the reason for him taking his own life?
Simon struggled, and there is a higher increase of risk to families if they've lost somebody to suicide. There is an increased risk, but I was always, I suppose, a bit of I wouldn't say control freak, but I was very much, after their dad died, I had to speak to each of them every day. And if they didn't answer in an hour, if they didn't get back to me, I would be panicking. And it's a shame, because Jonathan gets twice as much of that now, and he's 35 now, but I'll phone him and he's got to message back. Or
to hear you speaking about this, it's really deep stuff. It's not the normal, especially if it's 2 losses in your life. How have you managed to keep this motivation?
For me, as I say, if we go back to speaking about Shirley, I had gone to support the family. And that's how I initially got involved with Shorterless Space. So then we had a meeting here to say, is Crimond a good place? We thought that we might be able to support folk for Peterhead, Fraserburgh, some of the wee villages round about. But now we actually support people as far up as Inverness and as far down as Manchester, which is just mind-blowing. Never did we think we would get as big a distance.
And so, see for you, so when you come here, and Is it Monday to Friday only?
Well, I'm contracted 20 hours and we try to work it around when it suits folk. So if folk are working, I'll meet them in an evening. We've got quite a few folk. COVID's had such a negative impact. It's just been horrible.
Was nobody allowed here in COVID? No.
Yeah.
Or there was just one-to-one basis thing.
Yeah. But all our groups had to stop. But we've just slowly been introducing the groups. So we've got a group on a Thursday night for 7 to 9, and a group on a Saturday morning for 10 to 12. And it's just a kind of a safe place.
It's like a safe haven here. Come here, and the trust with you must be amazing. Yeah. Because straight away you're clicking into it exactly as happened and you're getting it. Yeah, and I think I quite often share my story with people, and it's no poor you because I don't do sympathy. Yeah. It's, do you know what, I've been in that crappy place in life, and I really didn't. I had a plan not to be here, and I was so glad that I didn't follow through it, because now I've got an amazing life. How close was you to thinking about that while you're not, Fiona? I had bought the stuff to end it. I knew exactly what I was doing. If it stopped you? My boys. I looked at the 2 boys and I thought, I can't do that twice to them. And then threw myself into work. And that's what I say, folk, if we don't grieve at the time, it'll come back and bite you, because we all need to go through the grieving process. And I didn't. I went back to work 5 weeks after my husband died. And you wasn't ready? No. I was working like 60-hour weeks, throwing myself in just so that I didn't need to deal with grief. And 3 years later, we had 3 incidents. I had 3 incidents, and it was just somebody had said, "Oh, I did hear you killed your husband." And I just said, "There's no way Simon's mum done that to his dad." And I thought, "Jeez!" And then there was I was acting area manager for a company, and one of our staff had just gone AWOL, and we couldn't contact her. And we knew her husband was abusive, and HR said, "You need to go to your house." And I remember driving there, and it was my birthday, thinking, "Happy birthday! What if she's dead? What if I can't prove I didn't do it?" Because that's a scar that I'm left with. That's reality for me. And then the third thing was one of the people we supported revealed that she'd been abused as a child by her dad. So I went and reported it at Peterhead, and they said, "Oh, you need to go to the Broch." And I was fine driving to Broch, never thought about it. And I got in, they took me into the same room that I'd been questioned. And that's too much for a start, is it? But they wouldn't know that. I never gave it a thought, to be honest, because I was fine. And I went in, and a wee young officer said, "What's your name and date of birth?" And I told her, and she laughed, and she said, "Oh, you're already on our system, you must be up to no good." Laugh. And I had a panic attack and started trying to undress, and went home and wouldn't come out of the house for 3 months. And I stayed out in the country. I wouldn't even walk a dog in case I had to wave to somebody. If was it my like phone rang. Paranoia, or what was it? It just became reclusive. I didn't even want to face the world. I didn't want to see anybody. It was just folk would come to the door and I would hide. I would just sit like a statue in case they seen a movement. It was just a lot of anxiety, you know. Yeah, absolutely. So now I support folk that are reclusive in their house, and I think I get it. Do you know what I mean? We all know what we want to do, what we should be doing. I had a CPN came to the house weekly for a long time, and that's what got me out and about in the community again. Can I ask you now? Lately, I've noticed in social media, and I've always somebody, my mum or a family friend, saying, "Oh, you can't fast took their own life." There's been a lot of suicides happening lately. What do you think's behind that? Do you think it's after COVID, and people's adjusted to this strange, trying to get back to normality, and it's not happening really? What is it, Fiona? I wish I knew. I wish I had a magic wand. I really don't know. I think COVID has had such a negative impact on so many folk. A lot of folk now suffer anxiety that didn't suffer it before. Even the thought of going back into the workplace for people is really, really hard. And there's so many pressures in folk in life now. And is the pressures about money? Is it about money, or what is it? There's a lot of things. Keeping up to date with the statuses. A lot of it. If you go into Facebook, I call it Fakebook, because you usually only see the pictures of somebody all glammed up, their makeup on, their baby looking fantastic, and the house behind them looking fantastic. You didn't see the real events. They don't take the photos of the days that they can't be bothered brushing their hair, and they've got a pile of sink dishes in the sink and what have you. So then somebody that's a wee bit insecure and no doing so well with this new baby, because babies are demanding, but they're seeing all these other folk on Facebook that have got this wonderful life,
And it's hard to aspire to be to that. So then you feel Mary a failure because you can't do that. And it's no real life that folk are always posting. It's the same at Christmas. You see, sat out my bairns' presents for the morning, and the sitting room's just full of presents, and you think, how much pressure is that on the folk that can't afford it?
Yep, and mentally draining now because I think I can't compete here.
You know, even having kids yourself, it's got to be the latest training shoes, and if they've not got their bullied, and bullying is such a big part of folks' poor mental health.
I do think social media has a massive impact. People not able to get that same level, they just can't do it.
Even eating disorders and that, we see all these celebrities stick thin and beautiful. Is that real life? But you've got a lot of folk that aspire to be like them.
Yep. And how do you deal with that side of things because like you're meeting a lot of people through Shorterless Space. I presume, do you pass that on to them, that kind of things, about social media and the impact they can
absolutely. We're probably a bit different at Shorterless Space. We don't take referrals. Although we've been and spoke to other doctors, and the doctors will tell folk go to Shirley Space.
That person can only come and see in their own.
Yep, because then they're ready for the help. If they're not ready, it just doesn't work because they're
but
not going to
there must be the odd one or two misses that because they didn't intentionally come in it, is there? So range that you've kind of heard about, and then they're going to come, they didn't appear.
Yep.
What happens there?
We'll try a couple of times, and then it's going to be their choice. Yeah.
Okay.
Quite often we'll get mums messaging about kids, and we'll be like, get them to message themselves, because then we know they're being forced in. Because if they come and they're not ready to talk, they won't open up. They won't get the best step. But we'll say to them, we're a bit different because there's only one in myself that's paid employment at Shirley Space. Everybody else is volunteers, and a high majority is that are supporting people have lived through something. So we've got people that have maybe lived through domestic abuse, or had an addiction, or lost a baby, just different things. So when we're saying to folk, I know, it's not because we've read it in a textbook, it's because we're remembering the pain in our heart, and we honestly remember being in that dark place. And I'll say to folk when they come in, sometimes folk are a bit embarrassed about being suicidal, and I'll share with them, hey, I've been there, I've been in that crappy place, but I'm so glad that I didn't do it, because now I've got such a nice life, I've got a new partner, we've just moved house, and if you tell me that, even when Simon died, I would never have imagined it. So what you need to do is find the right help, which I'm hoping is here, and let us walk your journey with you. But things can get better. It's
fantastic you're coming out and showing that other side of how you've been through it, and now you see the sense.
Folk know that you're not judging them. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a big thing, and we always say that to people. Coming in the door the first time is the hardest, because you don't know what you're coming at. You don't know if we're going to be sat with a clipboard and on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your happiness? We don't need to do that. We know looking at somebody and their troubles are.
You as a person, Fiona, like home life, have you got a pet? I presume you might have a pet.
I do.
Something you like to go on, is that is that a dog?
It is a dog.
Now listen, I didn't even care that, but I just had a feeling you maybe hear a walk and you go along a country line or something like that. What kind of dog you got?
Well, it's a wee Jack Russell. She's very much a princess.
When did you get her?
So she's actually, the reason she's a princess, she's my partner's dog. Right. He got her. It's strange because I wouldn't date anybody for 7 years.
Had you pets before, by the way?
We did, yeah.
You did?
Yeah. We've always had dogs.
Dogs, right, okay.
Yeah, I'm a bit a dog lady. I go into a room and I speak to a dog before I speak to folk. So Ray used to be Wally's friend in the prison. They used to work together. So we would go out on nights out and sit with Ray and his wife Margaret, and just at the time that Wally died, Margaret had a stroke. And we always kind of kept in touch, are you doing okay, and what have you. And then when Simon died, Margaret died at the same time, so we would meet up for lunches and suppers and what have you.
And it evolved
from there? Yeah, I don't even know how it happened. I'm very happy it did happen. So Margaret got Cleo, our wee Jack Russell, when she had a stroke, to kind of get her out and about. But she had a mobility scooter, and Cleo used to just sit in her arms, so now she thinks she's to be carried everywhere. So it's Margaret's fault, she's a princess.
So that's a dog, very, very good for your life.
Absolutely. Pets, dogs are the best therapy.
And what about hobbies and interests for you yourself, Fiona? Is there certain things let's say you've got in a whole weekend free. What would you do? It's an ideal weekend.
To be honest, I never have a whole weekend free, because We've got an all on-call system, and just recently we've just made it Monday to Friday, but before that it was Monday to Saturday. Before COVID we had it during the night, a Friday and Saturday night from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning, because street pastors were meeting a lot of people that were talking about suicide when the drinks in, you know what like. But then of course with COVID folk were drinking all week, it wasn't just Friday and Saturday, so we stopped doing the nights. We've just stopped a Saturday, but even when I'm on holiday, basically I'm still on call, because I would never have the team here thinking they'd need to phone. Wynn's fantastic, but Wynn also needs somebody if she's
You've
had
got
a really
huge
hard
commitment
day.
here, have you?
Absolutely, yeah. And I have to say, if I meet somebody, and as I say, our on call is Monday to Friday, 10 to 4, if I meet somebody and I'm worried about them, I'll say, just take my number. I don't care if it's 3, 4 in the morning, just phone me. And we've had quite a few folk doing that when they've genuinely been thinking about suicide, and I'm so glad they did, because they're still here.
Because that's, in a way, they're using you as like that safety net for, they mightn't indulge with other people, it's family and friends, would they?
Yep,
and they just need
it's
that outsider.
Easier to talk to a stranger, and do you know what, if it keeps somebody alive, me talking to them for an hour on the phone or going away to meet them, I'm happy. Probably, professionally, it's no ideal.
Well, it is ideal, isn't it?
I genuinely care about folk, and part of it is I know what it feels like to be suicidal, but the other part of it is I don't want a family having to go through what we've gone through, and if I can help it, then absolutely that's what we'll do.
I think it's absolutely fantastic that you're doing here, and the other part of this jigsaw is, see the welcoming aspect. I mean, like you've got, and there's Clan also here and that, but is it kind of this hub? Is it really it's pretty much a community thing, is it?
It's a beautiful hub. It's absolutely lovely. A lot of folk still don't want to admit that they're getting help for mental health, and that's fine. So we never disclose anybody that comes here, and they could be coming into the building to go to Clan, they could be going to the back manny to get their back sorted, they could be nipping into the pharmacy, there's a beautiful cafe just opened in, so you could be coming into the building for anything. So it's kind of anonymous, and we'll say to folk when we meet them, if we see you in the street we probably won't acknowledge you, and that's not about us being weird, it's just we don't want to say, oh hiya, how you doing, and
then the
wife
person
or
there or somebody,
how do you know her, is that your wife of Shorterless Space? So we tend just to walk past folk.
So it's very like keeping it personal but private.
We never share back with GPs or social work psychologists, we never give feedback to anybody. The only times that we give feedback to would be if somebody will come and ask, can I give your details to Pip, just so they can clarify that they're getting help for their mental health, or if we think somebody is in a situation where they're suicidal and we can't talk them out it. And we've had to do that on 3 occasions for folk, get the police to go, because they'll not tell us where they are, or because I know that I can't get to them in time.
I've got a feeling you're going to be doing this the rest of your life, by the way.
I know, I
feel the passion.
I know. A few years ago I said, that's me, because I worked with a care provider for 25 years. And I said, right, I'm just going to leave and I'm never going back into care again. And then a few months later I was speaking to Cameron and I was like, aye, okay. So but it's a passion. If it's in you, it doesn't matter where. Even when we go on holiday, we'll laugh, because they'll be like, Fiona, because just random folks that would come up and give me their life story, and I'll be, oh well, that's a shame, but great that you're doing this. A wee bit of encouragement.
Speaking about holidays, is it time you had a break maybe?
Yes, I am finishing Thursday night. We've just bought a motorhome, so we're away in here for a few nights and then back for a few days, and then heading down to Hartlepool.
And you're just going to chill out?
And we're just going to
park. There's no plans, is there? You're just getting away?
Yeah, just park where we decide. We bought a kayak, we've not even blown it up yet, but yeah.
Speaking about kayaks, now I bought one for Littles. It was in lockdown. Never got used, because my son's like 40 new, and he's kind of, I was trying to get him out in it, and it was a great thing, and I was out the first time and I was going, this is great, I got him out once and he was like, I'm not sure, so I sell it this year, but they're great fun.
Well, we've never been on it yet, but it's Ray's granddaughter's 18th birthday in Hartlepool, and they go supboarding and swimming in the sea every day. So I thought it'd be really funny if we just turn up and don't tell her we're coming, because she's having a beach party. don't tell her we're coming. So we've obviously got the kayak, and we've got Cleo, she's got a wee mermaid life jacket.
Oh wow.
Ray's got
so the dog's coming on it?
Oh yeah. She might lose a few fingers, but she's coming on. Ray's got his wetsuit with a luminous green mankini to put on top, and I've got my wetsuit with a tutu, just to embarrass her for her 18th.
Did you say a mankini?
So, on top of his wetsuit, on top, it was only bought for this occasion.
I'm joking. Hope you hear loads of fun.
Do you know, life's about making memories, and if folk laugh at you, then that's all the better, because it's a memory they'll remember. And
I'm the same. I'm like at a stage. I need a break, by the way, for Sticky Trifle Podcast, and I'll maybe have a break very soon. But I'm at the kind of stage. It's like this travel chaos and
I know
price of fuel and if it's happened to the world, by the way, is it?
I know.
Are we really gone bad?
It seems to be everything at once, and who would have thought we would have lived through Ukraine?
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? And standing by doing it.
And there's no real ending in sight here.
No, because they were just living life like us.
Aye.
And that's the worry. But we all keep saying be kind, and you know, when Caroline Flack took her life, and Facebook was filled with be kind.
I was a big fan of Caroline Flack in Love Island, and you wouldn't have seen that as a person that would do it either. And
but then last week we had Boris, and he's not the best, and he's mucked up. But at the end of the day, he's a dad, he's a husband, he's a human being. And I watched the House of Commons one day, and I was really uncomfortable. They were bullying him, calling him a rat, and just this group of folk.
It's a joke at the end of the day, isn't it?
It was bullying, and I thought, so whatever happened to be kind, it was flooding Facebook, everybody's and I'm no into politics, so nobody ever knows who I vote for. So it's I'm no standing up for Boris. I'm standing up for him because he's a human being with feelings. And although he's made mistakes, let's no badger him and bully him and make him dislike himself enough that
just one comment, a negative comment in somebody's life can make a huge difference, as we're just saying.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Before we go, Fiona, what kind of message can you get somebody, let's say if somebody watching just now, again, I'm struggling a wee bit, I don't know, I can far to turn to, what would you say?
Yeah, what I would say is just get in contact. Even if you think it's a tiny wee thing, let's get it, because if you don't deal with it just now, it'll just grow and mushroom and become a big thing. Everybody deserves happiness in their life, and there will be a right path for you. And if myself or one of the volunteers can't reach at a point that you're comfortable in life, we pay for somebody to deliver CBT independently, so it's a shorter waiting list than GPs, and Morag is so down to earth and lovely. The feedback's been amazing, so
fantastic, honestly. I would say this has been a really powerful, I feel quite emotional doing this. It's such a great story you've come out with about how you've got into it, and I'm saying that for the heart just now, and I'm so glad I've came here. It's actually been, I feel a real honour to come here and to hear the story, and it's all commemorated to Shirley. She started it off.
Yeah, and there's 56 people alive that might not be that where, I mean, we get a lot of folk in that'll say, oh, I'm thinking about suicide, but they've no real plans, but we've got 56 people who have either started popping pills or had a date in mind or been sat at the harbour that are still here that possibly wouldn't be without the intervention of Shorterless Space. Right,
so we've got details coming up at the end if you want to get in contact with Shorterless Space. Also the suicide app, which we mentioned earlier. So feel free to do it, and like you're saying, expressing and getting communicating is the best way forward.
Talk about it, and it's sometimes easier speaking to a stranger, because we're not going to wrap you in cotton wool, we're not going to treat you different, and whatever you say in the room here stays confidential. So absolutely.
All the best for the future. The dog and a partner in a kayak. Number 60 coming up next week. However, I need a holiday now.
You should.
So it might be my last day next week.
You can't pour for an empty cup, so you need to keep your own mental health good and your energy
up. Do you think I need a holiday?
Do, absolutely.
Right, I might come down to Hartlepool.
Aye.
Right, thank you very much, Fiona Weir, and next week we'll see us for number 60. Bye.
Sticky Trifle Podcast.
And even though Shirley didn't leave in the greatest of circumstances, I think if she was here now, she would be able to see the legacy she has left behind. And I suppose expressing our feelings to those that's close to us is sometimes harder than what we let on. And the Prevent Suicide app is available to download, and it might just help you someday also. And I hope you've learned as much about Shorterless Space as I have.
Sticky Trifle podcast will return next week.
Never lose hope. And on Sunday, 21st of August, Shorterless Space will be in a car boot sale from 10 till 2 p.m. See you next Sunday. Bye.
StickyTriflePodcast.